This is the Mogollon Rim and a potential rewilding site for the Mexican gray wolf. So what is rewilding? What does that mean? So rewilding is the scientific process of restoring big wilderness areas through the reintroduction and regulatory roles of predators. And what it does and what it follows is the 3Cs model. What that is, or what they are cores, corridors, and carnivores. And those three things make up the rewilding movement. And basically what I want to talk about is how the Mogollon Rim can be rewilded through the reintroduction of Mexican gray wolves who lived here and were extirpated in 1942. On the left, what you see is a series of cores and corridors extending all the way from Mexico to Alaska, and the Mogollon Rim is one of those key cores as identified by the Wildlands Network. And on the right, what you see is a closer up image, and those two white circles represent the Grand Canyon, which is further to the north, and the Mogollon Rim, which is closer to the center. All the way to the right is a red marker which represents the Blue Range Wolf Recovery Area and where wolves are located now. The three yellow lines are the possible dispersal routes that link together the Mogollon Rim and the Grand Canyon ecoregion. Now, wolves exist from Arizona all the way to Alaska, or at least used to. And what we need to do is add more cores, not just for the wolf survival, but for the health of our forests. Wolves have and give all sorts of benefits to a forest ecosystem, and I want to go through some of those now. So there's been quite a few links between wolves and biodiversity. So we know that wolves kill elk. We know that they limit their numbers, and the reason that that's important is that elk, they eat and they eat and they eat, and what happens is that they destroy habitat for other species. They stop aspen from regenerating. The forest depends on trees and plants and other species for survival, and they're all interacting. They all have links to each other, and when you remove a top predator from a wilderness area, you start to see mesopredator release, you see coyote populations boom, you see pronghorn rates fall, pronghorn survival rates fall, and you start to see an ecosystem out of balance. So the reason to reintroduce wolves into the Mogollon Rim is to help restore that balance as part of a bigger design, the Western Wild Way. So why is elk over browsing on aspen such a big deal in the Mogollon Rim and elsewhere? Well, aspens grow year-round, even in the winter, and beneath that thin white outer layer that they have is also a photosynthetic layer that allows the tree to create sugars and grow while the other deciduous trees like pines would otherwise be dormant. And during these hard winters, which happen frequently in the Mogollon Rim, that sugary layer provides necessary nutrients for deer and elk, as well as a ton of other species like black bear, beaver, porcupine, and other rodents. So aspen is a food source throughout the winter for a variety of species, and biodiversity really depends on having aspen in the environment. As I hiked through the forest, there were signs of elk everywhere. But other than human hunters, there's nothing here to regulate their population year-round. Arizona is the third most biologically diverse state in the country. We should be steadfast in our efforts to continue to be a desired destination for wildlife viewing and ecotourism, and pioneers of wild, diverse, and beautiful natural places. There are a lot of ways to support Mexican gray wolves, but the first step is to get informed and to share that information with your friends, your colleagues, your loved ones. Start having conversations about what you want the future of wild places to look like in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. When you go to vote, vote for people, vote for candidates that have strong records of protecting wildlife and protecting wild lands. When you buy products, buy from companies like North Face, like Patagonia, and some of the others that donate millions of dollars every single year to conservation efforts and conservation organizations. Recreate, bike, hike, fish, get outside. The government makes decisions based on the perceived values of the general public. So if they know that you value wild places, that you value endangered species, then maybe they'll start to do something about it.